Welcome to this video. I'm Teacher Ma from Kangaroo Study, and for this video we're going to cover the compound ratio problem. Now, let's try to understand what does it mean by the compound ratio problem by showing you an example. Let's say I'm not a teacher now. I'm a shop owner and I only sell one particular thing, which will be this pouch. And one day comes over a group of students, and I have counted there are 7 boys and 5 girls. And each boy can eat 4 pouches and each girl can eat 3 pouches they have bought. So they have bought each boy 4 and each girl 3. So now my question is, how many pouches that all the boys eat and all the girls eat? It should be very simple. It should be give us 28 and 15. 7 times 4 and 5 times 3. So the next day, following day, it comes over more students. Actually, more class of students. And I didn't count exact numbers, but I know it should be having the ratio of 7:5. Now, from this point of time, we cannot get the actual number of balls that all the boys get and all the girls get. But let's try to find out what can we get instead. So we have the ratio of 7:5. So we can think of it as 7 units to 5 units. Now my question is, how to find all the number of balls that all the boys eat in terms of units? Yes, it should be still 7 times 4 to give us 28 units. And also for girls, 5 times 3, total of 15 units. Now, instead of the actual 28 pouches and 15 pouches, what we get is 28 units and 15 units, which also give us the ratio of it. Now we get the ratio of the total buying pouches. And then, the following day, the third day, we come over more students. And I've counted the number of boys to girls now have the ratio of 3:5. And each boy want to buy more pouches, and each girl also want to buy more pouches. But it's not exactly 7 and 4. They have the ratio of 7:4. And we could call it as the single values because each boy can buy how many pouches, and each girl can buy how many pouches. So in that case, take a guess. What should be the total value ratio? For some small student, you may guess it should be 3 times 7 to give us 21 to 5 times 4 give us 20. 21 to 20. But how can we prove is it truly this way? Let's try to prove this thing. For example, the 3:5, the number we have the ratio 3:5. So we can also think of it as 3 unit to 5 unit. So in that case, how about let's make the 1 unit equals to A. So in that case, how to represent the actual number of boys? Yes, it should be 3 times 8. How about girls? 5 times 8. So the same thing for the second ratio, we have single value, each boy is 7:4. So how about make this 1 unit equals to B? So how to represent the actual single pouches that each boy can eat? It should be 7 times B and girls 4 times B. Now we have using these letters to represent actual values, so let's try to count the total, the actual total. What do we have? 3 times 8 times 7 times B for boy, and for girls, 5 times 8 times 4 times B. Now, but if we need to find the ratio between them, what we need to do the next step will be simplification. What can be simplified? Yes, they both have A and they both have B, so A and B can be cancelled out to each other, and then give us 3 times 7 and 5 times 4. And then finally we have 21:20. It's exactly the same as we guessed. Now, let's take a look at how do we get this total value in ratio. This 21 actually from the 3 from the number ratio and times the 7 from the single value ratio. So in that case, the number ratio should be doing what to single value ratio in order to get the total value ratio? Yes, it should be times. So here we have this equation. Number ratio times single value ratio give us total value ratio. Now my question is, how about let's erase this single value ratio? If we do not know the single value ratio, but we do know the number ratio and total value ratio, how can we be able to get the single value ratio? Let me give you a hint. For example, the 21 should be doing to what? To 3 in order to get the 7. Yes, divide. So in another case, total value should be do what? To number ratio to give us single value ratio. Yes, it should be also divide. So if you're doing the other way, it should be 21 divided by 3 give us 7, and 20 divided by 5 give us 4, so 7:4. So in another way, the total value ratio divided by the number ratio give us single value ratio. Now, the third thing, if we don't know the number ratio, can we find the number ratio by using the other two ratio? By how? Yes, exactly by division. By 21 divided by 7, by total value divided by the single value ratio to give us number ratio. Now we have the third equation. Now, what can we get from these three equations is that if we know any of the two type of ratios, we can get the third one. And that is combined to call as no two ratio get one ratio, and it's called the compound ratio. Now, we have understand what does it mean by the compound ratio and how to find it. Let's try to understand and do this question. So, let's read the question first. So, at the carnival, a total of 833 sweets were given away. And the ratio of the sweets given to each boy, to each girl, to each adult is 3:4:2. Now my question is, this ratio is what type of ratio? It should be single value ratio. And why is it? It's because it's asking for each boy can get how many, each adult can get how many, and each girl can get how many. So we can calling it the single value. And moving on, we have 1/5 of the people at the carnival were adults, and the ratio of number of boys to number of girls is 5:7. So now this ratio is what kind of ratio? It should be number ratio. Number of boys to the number of girls. And we can call it as number ratio. Now we know we have two types of ratios. Let's try to find the question. How many more sweets were given to all the girls than to all the boys? So usually we need to find what should be the actual total number of girl sweets and to boy sweets, and then subtract. So inside this question, what do we know about boys and girls? We only have the number ratio 5:7. But is it just boys and girls we're talking about? Oh no, we have adults. We still have adults into the consideration. So let's see what do we know about adults. So 1/5 of the people at the carnival were adults. So from this single fraction, what can we know about adults to the rest of the people? So adults to the rest, which will be including boys and girls. So they should be have in what ratio? If adults can be seen as the 1 unit in the numerator, to the boys and girls should be can as how many units? Yes, it should be 4 units instead of 5 units because we minus the adults from the total 5. And then, we also know boys and girls have the ratio of 5:7. Then problem comes, so how we can compare all three of them? Yes, by making the same part, same number of units. For example, the boys and girls, top we have total of 4 units, but below we total have how many units? 5 plus 7, total of 12 units. So that means we need to make them become same number of units. So that means the first ratio should be times with 3. And below, just times 1. And we can get equals to adults to boys and girls, 3:12, and also boys to girls, 5:7. Now we can compare all three of them. So adults to boys to girls now have the ratio of 3:5:7, and it's called the number ratio. It's the number of adults to boy to girl. How about single value ratio? What do we know about single value ratio? Yes, it's 3:4:2, but it's been in between boy to girl to adults. So let's do it. So for adults can be seen as 2 units, and boys 3 units, girls 4 units. Now we know the number ratio and single value ratio. How we can get the total value ratio? Yes, by just times them all together. So 3 times 2 for adults, boys, 5 times 3 to get boys and girls, 7 times 4. And now we have the total value ratio equals to 6 to 15 to 28. Now we have the total value ratio. And what do we know about total values? Total number of sweets. 833 sweets. Great. So in that case, 833 sweets should be refers to how many units? Let me draw a line. So first, we need to count how many units in total we have. So total number of units should be adding the 6 plus 15 plus 28 equals to 49 units. And this 49 units refers to 833. So in order to find 1 unit, what should be the calculation here? It should be 833 divided by 49 to give us 17 sweets for 1 unit. And then, let's view how many more sweets were given to all the boys, all the girls, than to all the boys. So 2 ways. Since we already found out 1 unit, we can just find out what should be the actual total value for each of them, and then subtract. Or, the other way is, we can try to find the difference in unit first, and then times the 1 unit. So let's do it. So more Swiss corresponding to the difference in units, which will be 28 minus 15, 13 units, and times 1 unit equals to 17 to give us 221. Here, we have solved this question. And let's do a summarize for this question. So all we learned about this video is about the compound ratio problem. And what does it mean actually is inside the compound ratio problem? Is if we know any of the two ratios, for example, we know the number ratio and single value ratio, we can just by times them together to give us the total value ratio. And we can also do it the other way. So in another way, if we know any of the two ratios, we can get the third one is called know two ratio, get one ratio. Now, by understanding all this, I will give you a practice question. So you can pause here and try this practice yourself. And don't forget to leave your answer to the comment section below. And if you want to learn more about PSLE, you can try to scan this QR code and to join our study group.